Hello, hello, hello. So, my mother is vacuuming. Chino doesn't like the vacuum, as apparently most dogs don't. So, if you hear vacuuming or barking or complaints about the barking, know that that's what's going on. I just wanted to come on and do my favorite thing to do recently, which is to pull for the last season, pull for this season, and then pull for how it's starting, right? So I'm going to be using the Archeo, the Elemental Oracle, and I almost said Wild Unknown SKT, the Spirit Keepers Tarot Revelations Edition to see. So the first card is going to be what Pisces season had for us, / where we're ending Pisces season. The second card is going to be where Aries season is starting us. And then the third card will be what is for us to gain over Aries season. Aries season started yesterday, right off the bat, just being whatever. Like I woke up yesterday, it felt like things had like shifted and changed and moved. And I just had a feeling that things were different. I'm doing my routine, I'm at the gym, and I get a call from a friend that I haven't seen in person in like 2 months. And so we went out to lunch and it was a nice surprise. We had a surprise when we went out to lunch. There's this food that he's been literally since like October wanting to eat, probably before October. Um, there are 2 locations of this restaurant in town. We went to the first one. They didn't have it. Apparently the second one does. That was a nice surprise. Then I got a call from my journey buddy, which was a nice surprise. And then the energy carries over today. I went to Starbucks. And they were like, hey, like we have this cake pop and it's cracked, so we can't sell it. And they just gave it to us. And it was like the pink one, which is my favorite. So the surprises carry through. They carry over, which I'm excited about. Let's get this started, Aries. I'm ready, I guess. I don't really have a choice but to be. So everything is shuffled up. Honestly, I might build the next spread, upload it, and then like go live and actually use it rather than do it all live, because that was like 3 hours, which is fine. But excuse me, who is this? Eccentric. I haven't seen this one yet. Drop down. Obviously, I'm shuffling the Archeo, so we're not gonna do the thing that I was talking about. If the strategist comes out, the strategist comes out. So anyway, I'm gonna give it. I've shuffled all of these. I'm just gonna pull right off the top. And actually, I'll do the top for Pisces. Oh, another one I haven't seen. Pisces season leaves us at innocent. Aries season will have us in Wolf. Oh. And then the eccentric is under that. This feels very like Stankness from La Fruma. It makes me think of like prey animals that it's like with certain people how prey animals can just be vulnerable, but with most people they'll like run away or something. There's like this the honestly it makes me think of I know it's been a minute, but energy like the Keeper of Karnak, which I also like said that the fog around Neptune kind of sort of feels like it reflects things. Like the fog is this blank canvas that reflects back to us, or that takes the form of something within. So it's almost like Pisces season, the conclusion of Pisces season is this energetic blank slate type of energy, or like there were things that we worked through, things that we've rid ourselves of, some kind of baggage that we had that we don't have anymore. We're traveling a lot lighter. And then the wolf sort of like senses that. It's like it can smell it on us. And so it like welcomes in a whole different kind of experience. Oh, oh, oh. Okay, well, am I taking all three of these? Oh, well, look. Companionship animals, of course. Oh, and it's number 21. Today is the 21st. Look at that. Animals came out recently. I thought about that too. It came out, so that was face up, face down. It's ocean's bravery and snow silence. Bravery and silence, snow and oceans. What's interesting is it's like these are two different forms of water, solid water and liquid water. And it's a lot of liquid water because it's an entire ocean. It's more than one ocean because it's plural. So maybe in this, there's a thawing of this energy because of the innocence. There's this, it feels like there's a side of wolf that we haven't necessarily seen before. Is this all three of these? Sure. Or what is this? Yeah, we'll just leave these here for now. It makes me, because of animals and snow, it makes me think of Deep Freeze in the Enchanted Map Oracle. Oh, I'll do the thing I do, where I pull before and after the card to see what the energy looks like around it. Deep Freeze came out, or the energy of Deep Freeze came out not too long ago, I feel like. Deep Freeze, I feel like it also had something to do. One time it felt like Pluto. And Pluto is about to transit into Aquarius, but we'll see. Yeah, this Aries season, it's been full of pleasant surprises so far, but I'm like, okay, well, I felt it and here we are. So let's do it. Am I going to shuffle? No, I'll take it as is. I will take it as is. And we'll see what's it. I'm going to look from the bottom. Ghostlands and the Bone Collector are the two cards on the bottom. These are interesting together. These two feel like, it feels like it's an Isis energy. It feels like the Bone Collector is collecting the bones of an individual who's, I don't know if like their spirit is shattered and scattered, or if the spirit needs its body intact. It's almost making me think of Coco. I don't know why. Because I don't think, did their bodies have to be intact in Coco? I don't think so. But maybe it was just that side of things. There were the ones who people had like forgotten about. No, because once you're forgotten about, then you disappear. But it's like there were people who were like outside. The ones who couldn't cross the bridge during Dia de los Muertos, maybe because they weren't on an altar or something like that. But Isis collects the pieces of her husband to put Osiris back together, right? To resurrect him. But I don't know, the Bone Collector and Ghostlands, they feel connected somehow. But let's go for the Deep Freeze. Deep Freeze. I wanted to do Aikenskjold. I forgot. The one who protects the treasure. Okay, well, this doesn't give us any new information at all. This is literally no new information at all, which is cool. Actually, I'm going to put it back in the deck and I'll shuffle it and then I'll see what else comes out. So Deep Freeze came out in between Moonlight and Listening. Moonlight and listening feels like the wolf who's been watching, waiting, who's sniffing. The innocent has a different smell to him, has a different air. I've been watching this show and it makes me think there are different characters who have like divine protections. And there's one person whose divine protection is she's like, whenever someone lies, there's a wind of mistruth that they generate. Her divine protection is to be able to see that wind so she can tell when people are lying because how the energy shifts around them, basically. Listening and moonlight almost feels like these times where we don't, it's like when you think that everyone else is asleep, but still there is someone listening in the silence of snow. So it is one of those, like, innermost thoughts, innermost beliefs, innermost desires, the things that you do when no one else is like, when you think no one else is watching or paying attention, universal witness, like the divine is always there. Like if you're there and the whole world knows because of the divine that resides within you and its connection to literally everything else. I think there's also an energy here that is kind of like silent prayers. It's also interesting there's 53 and 51, but 51 and 53 came on either side of deep freeze. So 52 would be that. Should I look before and after 52? Okay. Well, we'll see if 52 comes out. I'll do deep freeze because this is all not necessarily what I wanted. Now the Bone Collector is with the One Ring Circus. The One Ring Circus was behind Ghostlands. This isn't because so it feels like the Bone Collector has collected all of the bones, but the Bone Collector might not necessarily be a master of anatomy and physiology. So now the Bone Collector has to assemble the has to assemble the pieces, and right, hopefully everything is all lined up. But there's also an energy where it's like the Bone Collector doesn't make mistakes. So if it is reassembled or put back together in a way that we think is like misshapen, it makes me think of bearded woman, world's tallest man, world's shortest whatever, like the sideshow attractions. But they are created and like purposefully and with intention and exactly how they are supposed to be. They may be deemed other or different from a normal standardized fits in the mold perspective, but they are who they are. There's a lot of intrigue here. And then Spark is after that. Spark making me think of that, like we're all created in the image of the divine. And so there is no mistake. And because of that, it feels like there's like a unique pathway, maybe almost. But now that it's been shuffled, let's look for that deep freeze. Deep freeze is at the top of the deck. Okay, literally, literally the first three cards. Flying, number 20, Deep Freeze, 26, and Come Together. Flying and Come Together are outside of Deep Freeze now. I love that. There's something kind of sad about this Moonlight card. I don't know if this fairy is grounded. here. But with come together and flying, like it feels like she's gonna be able to fly again. Like her wings are for more than just show. Going back to like the sideshow. So I guess there is an energy here that is like it's like the Five of Cups grotesque in the Spirit Keeper's Tarot that's been coming out here and there. It's like there are these things that make us special, different, unique, that make us who we are. But that uniqueness can set us at odds with the world around us. And so we learn to hide those parts of ourselves because of some shame that we feel or because of how that part might not necessarily have been accepted by people or because we fear that it might not be. So we hide it. Born extraordinary, but we live lives of, I don't know why incredulity popped into my mind, but we live like mundane lives and we're not created that way. But this flying and coming together, like this is like the proof that someone was listening, that you weren't alone, that someone was there. So Aries season looks like it's going to be starting off gorgeous. Off of the heels of Pisces. Am I done? No, that's just for that. Okay. Oh, there we go. I caught it. So I'll take this one for Pisces. Pisces is leaving us gravity and groundedness. I can't help but think of both, I guess, flying and coming together. Coming together because of the two, flying because they're like the butterflies in the air. It also feels like because it's gravity, there's some relation to Saturn. Groundedness is also interesting because I've been thinking about what it means to be grounded lately. And how, in some ways, it's almost like we put a certain responsibility on nature to ground us. Like go outside, put your feet in the grass, touch a tree, do this, do that. And it's not that there's anything wrong with that, but it feels like it's kind of superficial in a way where it doesn't anchor something. Superficial not in like the performative sense, superficial in like it's like towards the surface, but it doesn't necessarily penetrate deeper than that. And so maybe it's because of that that we can so easily get swept up in things sometimes because of where we're grounding or how we're grounding or what we're grounding, I guess. I mean, we see all of the animals in this grounding card. So it's not separate, but it's like it's a part of. I might pull a clarifier on that. Sunlight at the bottom of the deck. It's almost like it's a part of the cycle, but when we ground in that way, it's like we skew that relationship somehow. It's almost like, I guess, like if you have a group project and your job is to like participate in the group, but when we ground in that way where we shift all of the responsibility basically on nature, it's like we're having somebody else do our part of it, and then we're just like sitting back watching the success or hoping for the success of others to sort of like carry us through that. but we're supposed to be contributing something as well. I don't know. So that's where we conclude Pisces season, Aries season. Where you at? Aries season. Starting to get a little toasty, starting to get a little warm. Aries season. This card leapt up and went back into the deck. It's air, motion, movement. Bottom of the deck now is joy, music, 28. Air movement is 22. Joy music came out before. Don't remember where or when. That was the spring, I think. When I read spring versus winter, or spring or winter. It's interesting because that's exactly where the butterflies are like, the butterflies are lifting this person into the air, and then in the air they start to move. There are lots of animals up here as well. And like the animal companions did come out. But there's something in this air card that moves with it. It's not like a chariot. It's not the person being drawn by the horses. I mean, honestly, we don't see a person in here at all. There's also this like flying together again. There's something about Pisces season that lifted or elevated us into this energy of movement. But it's not necessarily a movement. It's almost like to ground to the earth would make one too dense to keep up with this movement, because the movement is happening in the air, not on the surface. So in that way, um, it feels like, because if you ground to the earth, the animals sort of like lift you up. In that way, it feels like what? I had it and I lost it. I don't know. Listen to the wolf, right? The wolf is here to lead and guide. This is the passing of some kind of test. Maybe I'll pull before and after strengthness at the end of it. So, 3 cards for the conclusion of Pisces season. Let's see if one more flipped over. Nope, one more for the conclusion of Pisces season. I'm gonna get all these real quick. Oh, too much. There we go. Oh, wow. 3 cards for Aries season in general as a whole. Two more. Oop. Oh, face down. Okay. That's one. I think I'm just going to stop there. And then immediately where we're starting Aries season, face down. So I'll read everything face up first. The bottom of the deck is the bread of life, Ace of Pentacles, which is earth and the midheaven. Ace of Orbs, the deepening. And then the Haunt, 9 of Swords, is below that. The Joyous One, 10 of Cups, is below that. Ace of Pentacles, Nine of Swords, Ten of Cups. There's something being given in this Ace of Pentacles. And it's like it's being offered to her because of the space that she sits in. There's also some kind of like internal harmony. There's something that there's a piece that she's found within herself that configures this almost Rubik's Cube square here. And it's almost like different configurations of that square present or offer different things. It's almost like a secret code. So, not necessarily, it kind of is, but not necessarily every combination will give you something, and different combinations will give you a different thing. This is basically the hand of the wolf extending that Ace of Pentacles, bread of life, to the innocent within her. I can't get over this umbrella, but I don't necessarily know what that is yet. I mean, I guess we did have snow and oceans, so that it fits the water theme. It's apparel that's specific intention is to keep us dry when it's raining. And we do have the eccentric still at the bottom. Something about the eccentric, I don't know if it's the goggles or what, feels like a kind of inventor. The eccentric is also here at the bottom of the deck, which plays on that whole like something about you is different type of energy as well. Pisces season taught us or encouraged us to no longer want to hide or live in, or to no longer hide or live in a way that we keep our difference sort of like aside. So we got 5 cards for Pisces season. Pisces season is concluding with 2 separate and then 3 that I'll read as one. So we have the Herald of the Waters, which is the Page of Cups, and the Seeker, which is the second Fool. Herald of the Waters, Page of Cups is interesting because the Page of Cups came out in the Witch's Tarot recently. I can't remember why, but there was something about the Page of Cups that felt like she was older than what she was. Inspire the Prodigy. This feels like an initiation of sorts because the Seeker is here. Like these are halls, the halls of, I want to say the halls of Amenti, because that's the only thing that pops into my mind, but I don't, do I know what that is? No. So, if you know, or if that's something that you're into and that resonates for you, maybe take it. The pages in this deck are the pages in a lot of decks are messengers, but in this deck, they come with a message. So you get an extra card to see what that message is. It feels like the message is an invitation though. And this is a white rose that signifies that like you can be welcomed into the inner sanctum. The Seeker being the second Fool. The Initiate is us, brand new, typical Fool energy. Like it requires that leap beyond our understanding. The Seeker is the second Fool, the one who has taken that leap, who has made progress on that journey, who has a lot of new knowledge and information, and maybe just needs a little help to begin learning how to put it all together, or to begin learning how the information applies to like life or whatever. The Keeper is the third Fool, the one who's made it from the magician to the world, who has learned something every step along the way, learned everything that they needed, knows how to integrate it, and then re-enters the world with the knowing that they didn't have before. Like the awakened Fool. The third card is The shining flame, the herald of the earth, and the herald of the flame. Two more pages. Two more messengers. The only herald that's not here is the herald of Zephyrs, the page of swords. And there are two cards that are face down on the table. Kirsty, hello, how you doing? How have you been? The herald of the earth is interesting because we see this page are the ace of pentacles at the bottom of the deck. So this is the herald, I guess, offering that pentacle. What's also interesting about the herald of the earth is the sky. I was looking at the sky in this card. You see this cloud back here, this nebulous whatever happening in the sky, and then look at the sky in the page of cups, the messenger of water. These two feels like there's some overlap. It's almost like a thinning veil or a portal opening. There's something on the dream, ethereal, astral side that's coming in, serving to anchor something into the physical, which gives this a whole new, like, it feels like it speaks to this. This is where we're concluding Pisces season, so it's not surprising because it's connected to the natural world, but it's also elevating beyond it. Whew, you're good. Glad to hear it. Honestly, there's a whole bunch of stuff that's starting to like shift and move. It kind of feels like my awareness was brought to these different, seemingly stationary pieces of my life's puzzle. And now it's being revealed that these pieces are all gears in this clock, and life is starting to move. And I'm like, figuring my path, but my path isn't the right. Because another thing that Aries season has already brought is knowing, I guess, of certain things. So yeah, so yeah, it's a whole. It's yeah. We'll see. We'll see when everything stops. It's been so interesting so far. But anyway, I've been well. Thank you for asking. Oh, this is the Shining Flame. The Shining Flame is the Knight of Wands. I thought it was the Ace of Wands for a second. So we have the Knight and the Page of Wands. Now that energy, when I did the Hierarch spread, and the Hierarch was also about, see, I think like this, beyond this, oh gosh, if I can keep it in my hands, beyond this is where the Hierarch is. This is the sustainer. There were these things that was in the box and it was so far away, and we were being drawn to it, but we couldn't actually like reach it or touch it. It was behind the glass. Something is opening up to like, it's like we don't go beyond the glass, but there's like a hole that's cut in the bottom of the glass and the thing just like falls out. It was a card, it was the Knight of Wands into the Queen of Wands, and it was like going behind the door. And it was like a pocket dimension, a space that exists outside of time. I guess these are saying it's emerging. What it is, I don't know. But it's emerging. It can be something as simple as like you finding your true calling and then like going in that direction. Or the things that will lead you to wherever you ultimately end up, or whatever it is that you most ultimately do. Those events are starting to be set in motion now. Everything up until now was with the innocent, was to prepare us for accepting the challenge, to clean our vessels so that we can embody whatever divine gift, so that we can be who we need to be when these things happen. And that goes back to the Ten of Swords that came out at some point last year. in this deck. And it was like there's the light side of things and there's the dark side of things, and both of them are working together to purify our vessel so that we can receive whatever this divine gift is. Um, but if all of these are meant to be read as one card, we have dedication of the adept in the page of pentacles, awaken the brilliance in the page of wands, and then embers of the salamander in the page of, or in the knight of wands. So there is this, like, between the two of these, there's this dedication to a certain awakening. There's a dedication to us being that person. And in our dedicated efforts, it's like the Knight of Pentacles that came out with the Queen of Pentacles and the Tarot of the Abyss. In that dedication, there is something deep within the internal being that is being awakened. Embers of the salamander are being stroked. It's a magical divine beast related to the element of fire that's being reborn, almost like a phoenix, but not necessarily a phoenix. I mean, I guess for how the energy feels, it's basically like everything that the phoenix symbolizes. It's just being rebirthed. It's not a phoenix. It's literally just like the embers are catching fire, and then the salamander comes to be yet again. There's something internally that's waking up. And it feels like it's coinciding with this invitation to greater knowledge. Um, so again, like if we bring this down a little bit, like the last reading said, the here I spread, there's something that our soul has known our entire life, that we've been consciously and subconsciously, both knowingly and unknowingly, healing towards, navigating towards, expanding towards. And as we are progressing in our journey, there are other things that are progressing at the same time, and we will meet each other. We will step up where it's time for someone to step up. We will fill that role. Everything that we've been doing is preparing us for that. That's what this is saying with Pisces season, or like Pisces season as a whole, which is interesting because, again, the first thing that Pisces season brought was that Nine of Air in the Tarot of Dreams, which, according to, or in a few of Reem's Pisces videos, it was the one with like the fires coming out of the fingers. It was like thawing this golden timeline. And that, again, it's like we're becoming this person that when we meet opportunity, it, because of who we are, things sort of like exceed expectation. And with that Knight of Pentacles energy, again, from the last one, it isn't anything, it's not to take it, it's not to take away from it being a miracle, because it is a miracle, but it's not something that's so miraculous that it has no grounding in our physical, like everyday, day-to-day lives. The miracle is in how everything comes together, how what we've been doing and what someone else has been doing and what the world or somebody needs, and like everything is coming together to work together. That's the miracle of that. The miracle isn't necessarily like, I couldn't do this thing yesterday, but now all of a sudden today, out of nowhere, I can. It's like the foundation for this thing is as important as the thing is, because the foundation is what this thing is built upon. Pluto has just spent a number of years in Capricorn, and it's gonna like transit Aquarius and go back and forth, but Capricorn is literally the foundation. It's an energy of foundations, and that's where Pluto has been. Now that the foundation is built, how do we move this forward? What do we do with this? Aries season overall, the only card, so like what Aries, where Aries is starting us, and half of the season, the energy of Aries season is unknown. They're face down. The only card that's here is the Ace of Cups, the Holy Grail. Ace of Chalices, the purifying. We have the purifying here and the deepening here. There's also like this phantom pearl. It's not really phantom, but you can see the pearl in the cup. And then this here. This feels very Venusian. Venus came out with copper recently, but anyway. Venus left Aries and went into Taurus. Where it, like now the sun is entering the space that Venus just exited. Jupiter is still there. Mercury is going in there. So maybe there's something that Venus deposited in Aries while she was transiting Aries, and the sun is going to highlight and illuminate what that thing is. And Jupiter is also there. So depending on however, and Mercury is there too for like 2 weeks. So it's almost like depending on our ability to be present, and depending on our ability to put into practice, to put into play, to put into motion, all of the things that we've been like accumulating and acquiring and stuff during like our up through Pisces season. In this season, either Jupiter will like super expand it, or Jupiter will almost like, it almost feels like it's contracting it, but it's expanding it inwards, like imploding versus exploding type of energy. But it's like a flip of polarity. So it's like a vacuum cleaner. But like if you regularly, it will suck stuff up, but if you like flip the switch, it'll spit stuff out. It's like it's the exact same force, just applied in a different direction. Aries season is starting us with the keeper. This is the awakened fool. This is the one who has learned everything that they needed to learn the whole way through, from the magician to the world card, who now re-enters the world with a whole new understanding, with an ability to see things at a deeper level, to sort of like know the machinations behind and the reasons behind some things, and who can make much more informed choices, and who is so educated that they can interact with the world in a way to inspire certain outcomes. Because again, like the keepers learned everything. So you have elements of the magician in the keeper, you have elements of the star, elements of the wheel of fortune, elements of the world. So it's like it's the one who knows how to move things, but also has a complete understanding. So like is better able to predict certain outcomes, is more understanding of the precursors and causes. And I think sometimes if there were certain pieces that were missing, we could be really good at inspiring change, but not great at anticipating like the reaction, so that it might come with it might be a very like be careful what you wish for because you just might get it. Very like Jenny energy, very like, well, this is what you wish for, like the monkey's paw, but it comes with a series of misfortune because of the things that we don't know. Or it can be easy to like continue to perpetrate and propagate things that we actually want to like end. So it's almost like if there is an invasive species in a certain plant and we like want to take certain plants out of this garden and put them in the new garden, if we don't know sort of like the root causes and stuff like that, the environment and ecology enough, we'll just end up taking the rot or the invasive species and putting it in the new garden. And so it might be good for a little bit, but then it becomes exactly what we just had. The fool knows like the keeper knows every single step of the way. And it's spirit and petition of spirit. This is spirit in search of science, is the keeper. And again, it's like the keeper was extended this invitation into whatever these halls are. And in that, there's something that awakened within the keeper, or that awakened within the seeker, that also resonated with this more core, almost primordial, because it is the salamander energy, and awakened that salamander. I don't like, we're starting with and then look at this, like right? We see that configured magical square being offered this, and then like that's literally what's in between her hands. She's configuring her own square. And then it's like she knows all of the codes. So whatever she needs from the universe, from the divine, she reconfigures her square and then it's offered. It appears type of energy. Aries is feeling like the magician, apparently. I mean, but it's more than just the magician. And that's the thing to keep in mind with the keeper. The keeper is everything. From it's the magician, the high priestess, the emperor, the empress, the hierophant, the chariot lovers, strength, hanged man, justice, death, devil, temperance, tower, star, sun, moon, world, judgment. It's everything. Excuse me. The tension. Jupiter and Capricorn, two of orbs, is the other thing that Aries season overall will teach us. This is basically how to use it in a way. This is interesting though, because it feels like this tension is going to be that North Node, Aries, South Node, Libra sort of axis. Because it's like, yes, we have all of this, like if you can do anything that you want, but we also have to keep in mind that like we're not the only consciousness that exists on this planet or in this universe. There are others that are also here that we share the world with. Oh, I gotta go potty. I gotta go to the restroom. This is interesting. I'm gonna look before and after the grotesque, the Five of Cups. Who I gotta? Oh, wait. Before I do that, no, I'm gonna do that first, and then I'm gonna get three additional messages from all of these. Here's the grotesque. So we have the sharpshooter, which is Venus in Sagittarius, Eight of Scepters, Eight of Wands. The grotesque, Five of Cups, which is Mars in Scorpio. And then we have the Emperor. So the Emperor and the sharpshooter are around the grotesque. This is the grotesque. This is interesting because it really is like I feel like that's this is like exactly why it plays so well on that like the wolf sniffs out the pure of heart type of energy. Because like if this were any piece of like media that is consumed for entertainment, it's like a power this great, this grand can't be given irresponsibly to someone because of how everything can so easily fall apart. Or how, because of it's like that saying absolute power corrupts absolutely. So you have to look for the incorruptible because of how easily it would be to like just become lost to one's own greed or desire or lust or whatever. Pick a deadly sin because of how easy it would be to like really fall into one of those with this level of authority over one's life and with this level of entitlement over one's environment and space. So it's almost like, what's the point of the divine awakening, this great entrepreneur within you, if you only then turn around and like abuse people and communities and environments the same way that they're already being abused? Like on the greater scale, that doesn't change anything. That just continues to perpetuate what already is. But the only difference is like you're the one doing it now rather than somebody else. It's almost like it's so easy to become the villain that you once like fought against. And then it's one of those, well, you either die a hero or you live long enough to become the villain yourself. But the incorruptible will never be that. Power would not corrupt them. It's not one of those, well, if you give this person enough opportunity or if you give this person enough money or enough authority, like it'll go right to their head and they'll be whatever type of energy. I don't know. It's interesting. That wasn't a chili pepper. That wasn't a chili pepper. It just was. Because like it like greed and lust are the quickest ones to go to because it's like, then we accumulate stuff, but then you can also do like pride, where we become too attached to the things that we bring into our lives, where it becomes like the status symbol, like, oh, I'm a millionaire, billionaire, I have this much money, this much of something that doesn't mean anything. And maybe that's another reason why the Bone Collector came out with that like Isis energy, or with the ghost lands and the One Ring Circus. Because it's like when you die, you don't take any of that with you anyway. So how much does it really matter? So yeah. All right, I'll be right back. I really got to go to the restroom. Okay, I'm back. Let's just hope that, things are still respectable. So, and another thing with this emperor, we've seen in the five of, it should still be down here. In this five of cups, you see in the distance, I think it's Kuan Yin, but we see embodiment of the divine, an aspect of the divine, a branch of the great divine tree. In the background, we also saw in the 10 of cups the same, a lot closer. And with the Ankh of the Emperor, it's to remember that it is a gift bestowed upon the Emperor by the Empress. We also see it in this Eight of Wands. I'm glad I went to the bathroom. Oh, there's the bird too. The Ankh is given to the Emperor by the Empress. This is a right, not a right, maybe a right like an RITE rather than a right like a RAGHT, bestowed upon the Emperor by the Empress, because it's working in conjunction with the divine. Like they're on the same page here. And that's like the wolf offering an energy. It's like the wolf is offering its cooperation with this innocent. And so there is that, like, don't get too big headed, like this is a borrowed power type of energy, you know what I mean? So that if you do sort of try to fly off the rails, then it'll just take it away. I guess it's a little more foolproof in that way. But now we got to get three messengers for these different pages. Literally 3 out of 4 pages. And one of them immediately followed up by the night. This is interesting. Interesting. Hey David, how you doing? Oh, you're at work. I forget that. I've been out of work for like 3 months now. Officially. It's time for me to go back. So the message of the Herald of the Waters is the Tower. The axe of Shiva removes only corruption. So if the axe draws blood, you know it was corrupted. I think this is also overall, it's symbolic of the things that it's like it extends beyond Pisces season, but maybe some of these things found their conclusions, or we found a realization about some of these things in Pisces season. These were the things that like made us innocent again. The things that we healed, the things that we worked through, the things that we let go, whatever. This is the Ace of Cups, the purifying. This is the purification through the axe of Shiva and also the trident or Trishula of Shiva. Lots of Shiva energy here, but it's destruction for the sake of purification. Also, this nebulous cloud up in the sky that comes a lot closer with this Page of Cups, we see it in this tower. But there it's like look, the colors are even similar. It's like the eye of the divine in a way. So yeah, the tower also, like, because it's Mars, this is both Aries and Scorpio, which is interesting because um, South Node Scorpio transiting North Node Aries. So there's also like in that there's something that was more in the background that's coming to the forefront. Also, the Emperor Aries is right here. So this could have been the death that was required to almost like polish that Emperor energy, or to polish us to an Emperor energy. I think too, the Emperor is the only major that's here. Well, it's the only major that came out so far. So this is like because the Keeper has mastered every sort of lesson from all of the majors, it might be for us to keep this Emperor energy in mind. Or to like prioritize it a little bit. Or to be more mindful of it. So it feels more like initiating something or like taking the reins. It's not controlling. It's not to fall into like habits and patterns of control. It's more like knowing what we need to initiate. And then the tower here would be like, know that you've gone through all of the things that you needed to go through to like be worthy of this. Like this was that stankness testing trial period. Like you passed the tests, you made it through. So also like don't be so intimidated by something that you don't give yourself the chance or opportunity to like at least try. Because I mean, Emperor and the Eight of Wands, not only will you be great at it, you'll also like progress things. And because you progress things, your whatever through the thing might be expedited. It might be quicker. It's almost like if you apply for a new job and you're doing one thing and like someone's asking you a question, like you actually have more expertise or you have a different perspective or viewpoint than whatever. So there's things that you bring to the team and then it's noticed quickly. And then you like get promoted into this, or like they might even create a whole new position for you because there's something that you can do that the company's been needing that it's been lacking. But if you don't feel confident and comfortable enough to like share those perspectives and insights and ideas, if nobody ever hears it, there's the thing that you never do that like gets you noticed. But you might not do it because you might not feel like smart enough, or it's like, well, they have these other people who can like do whatever, and I don't want to ruffle any feathers. Like there's a way to go about things that like where you can say what needs to be said, but you don't have to be like rude or disrespectful about it. You might have to like put your foot down a little bit. It's all sort of like relative. You're at work too. Everyone's at work. Two jobs. Oh my gosh. I can't even get one. Anyway, so now the Herald of Earth. Herald of the Earth. Oh, there we go. The Herald of the Earth is coming out with the joined one. Venus in Cancer, Two of Cups. The joined one and this coming together, obviously, sharing lots of similarities. The joined one is interesting because it's abyssus, abyssum, and wokat. The depths of you call to the depths of me. It's like if you've ever played Persona, it's very like I am thou, thou art I. And again, this is the three cards read as one, as you have been dedicated to that thing within you that sets you apart, that makes you unique. The lighting of your spark is coinciding with the rekindling of the embers of the salamander. There's some bond of resonance formed between you two that ultimately ends up in this, where you and the salamander, you and this divine energy, this branch of the tree of the divine, are working in tangent, in harmony together. And because you do it so well, there is something that the divine bestows upon you. Abyssus, abyssum, and wokai. Now the Herald of the Flame. Two cards. Ooh, oh, three cards. Ooh. The Herald of the Flame. All three fools are on the table. The Herald of the Flame comes out with the Initiate, the Convalescent, and the Warrior. The Initiate is that fresh fool. This is the chasm, the gap in understanding that we have to cross. When we take this journey, there is the Guardian that wakes up. The Guardian being the wolf, being whatever animal of the divine is sort of like attached to that, or like the animal that is symbolic of that deified energy. So I can't think of one. Like Zeus and eagles, maybe. Like eagle is a symbol of Zeus, so the Zeus would be like, this would be the eagle, Zeus would be the divine, and the herald is the one. The heralds are the messengers from the kings and queens, so sent by that one. But also this one is accompanied literally with this night, because it goes immediately from the page to the night. Um, and then we also have the Convalescent and the Warrior. This is interesting because, or maybe it's just like there's something dormant within the self that's been awake or awoken, that has awoken. Here's that part of self being dormant. Here's it being active. The warrior is the sun. The sun is the warrior in this deck. So, I mean, you can't get more wands, or you can't really get more fire than the whole gosh darn sun, right? The sun was also at the bottom of the deck when Animals Companionship came out. Is it still at the bottom? No, now it's Joy. Whenever the first card came out of the Elemental Oracle, the sun was at the bottom of the deck. And again, like the convalescent is it being asleep, but the waters of temperance awaken it. So there's again like the waters of temperance representing Scorpio, awakening the fire within this warrior representing Aries. All of this happening in the domain of Mars. Mars is about to transit into Cancer. Hey Holly, how you doing? Or it's already transited Cancer. What's interesting is that this is the initiate. But this initiate doesn't feel like it's further back than the seeker or the keeper. This initiate, this is literally this. It's almost like this is the path that we're starting. Ultimately, at some point we end up, it's like we're already that, but we're like learning how to be that at the same time, if that makes any sense. So it's like we have all of the capabilities of that, but we just like aren't doing it yet. I guess it's almost like if you are proficient in a language, but you don't take a proficiency test. So you just like go through the courses as regular. There may be a few like grammatical things that you might learn if your proficiency is like native, like especially like oral, like spoken, just like how like how we and the who English is our first language, we take English in school and it's still like learning spelling and grammar and stuff like that. It can be that where it's like there are a few like finer details or fine tuning, but mostly um you know what's up. So now we also have the sun. We have the sun, the emperor, and the tower on the table with all three fools. I'll read the innocent, and then that'll be oof, oof. This is interesting. The innocent, not the inventor. Here we go. I'm not gonna hold the card up because my arm will get sore. The innocent guilelessly sticks his long nose in every corner and crevice to see what he will find. In his idealism, he believes himself to be immune to danger. The innocent is very like a fool energy, and then all three fools showed up in the SKT, which is interesting. Um, Also, because it feels like we're all three simultaneously. So there are things that we are well versed in that we're going to be expanding upon. There are things that we Aries season is stating us as the master of at the beginning of the season, and there will also be things that we initiate. What we're initiating is that knowing, right? That's the this. It's like we've gone through life, we've lived life being on the receiving end of things and more so like reacting to the world. We've even experienced some life where we've like co-created with spirit through like the laws of attraction and manifestation or whatever. But what we're being initiated into, I picked the yeah, well, what we're being initiated into is like this even further step. And that's why the Ace of Pentacles bread of life was like literally being handed. But it's again, it's because of all that we've already achieved. Every single step along the way from every single major with the keeper. The innocent guilelessly sticks his long nose in every corner and crevice to see what he will find. In his idealism, he believes idealism being Pisces, not gonna lie. In his idealism, he believes himself to be immune to danger. His energy is infectious. We need the sap of youth running through our veins to invigorate us. It draws from us torpor and lethargy and drives us to take on the trials and tribulations that would otherwise daunt us. The sky grows blue and we become immortal. What? Against for? Is that a word? Against for a day at least? Persona. Arriving hurriedly, he almost tumbles over himself in his enthusiasm to enter the proceedings. He is a breath of fresh air, and he brings enough energy to banish apathy and rekindle a belief that all things are possible. The innocent is the epitome of youthful vitality, and his inquisitiveness drives him towards adventure and experience. Unencumbered by convention, rule, or regulation, he feels no limitation or restriction. Oblivious to consequence, the innocent is willing to leap into the abyss, certain that if his paper parachute fails to open, he will grow wings. Confident of his immortality, his unbridled imagination cannot be punctured by fear of failure. Certainly, he is in many ways naive, but had it not been for him, the world would never have mapped. Art would never become an expression of the human soul, and science would not have pulled back the veil of superstition. But all of his qualities, but of all his qualities, it is his willingness to ask the vital questions that makes him invaluable to any quest. True, one day he will become aware of his limitations, conceding that not all things are possible. But until then, the innocent's heart beats like a tattooed drum. I love that tattooed drum. I love that we're concluding with the innocent's heart beating like a tattooed drum because, again, the destroyer 10 of swords. Here it is. I'll take all three right now. Archangel Commander. Oh, snap. And the Hierophant. Ooh. We got Archangel Commander and the Hierophant outside. So the Scarlet Shield and the Ivory Shield, Queens of Cups and Swords, are on either side of this. The tattooed drums make me think of those two. The Destroyer is also very this energy. But beyond this, there are aspects of the shaman that the Destroyer wakes up to. So it embodies all simultaneously: the physical, mental, emotional, ethereal, spiritual. That's why she has multiple arms. These two are interesting because it was a while ago. The space between these two, I think it was the Scarlet Shield and the Ivory Shield. It was like the space between what is possible and what we think of as possible. Basically, our allowance for the impossible to happen. The only thing between them this time is the Destroyer. And the Destroyer is our own ability to sort of like be in line with the potential that the divine has in our vessel. And again, it makes me think of that ace of the bread of life, where the different sort of cube is what the divine offers, the different configuration, because the manifestation or the divine manifests differently in different vessels. Right? There's almost like there's an alignment or like different parameters that we have that like emphasizes certain elements of the divine or the nature of the divine. So like you could read it as like modalities. Like someone may have like high stats in a healing attribute, so the divine works through them as a healer. Whereas someone else might have high stats in something else, and so the divine will work through them in that way. But the Destroyer is all about us working with the divine, both in light and in darkness, to face the things that we need to face and to step into and come into the things that we need to come into. It prepares the vessel to receive the divine even more so. So I guess buckle up for Aries season, because this is that's a lot. But again, I guess it isn't. It reads like a lot, but with the keeper there and with the tower on top of the page of cups, like everything that we've needed to do to reach this point, we've done. The wolf approaches in correspondence to the innocent. If we didn't already do it, like we wouldn't be approached, this wouldn't be offered. And so, last but not least, I do want to see what's before and after stankness. And I'm gonna do the same where I take it as is, and then I'll shuffle it back in, and we'll see how it's different, or if it reaffirms like um the enchanted map oracle did. Woo! What? You got a fox? That's so cute. Hopefully, it leaves before the geese come back. That's funny. It's warming up, warming up. Who? Oh wait, I don't shuffle it yet. Not yet. Not yet. Let's see. Where is Stankness? Rod and Swelgeness with a Ethel or Aethel at the bottom of the deck. We have to journey through the Swelgeness to find that birthright. And then we have Ool Senses. Or Ool Owl Senses. This will help us so that we don't get lost in the Swelgeness. Love that. I'm looking for Stankness. Okay. No, that's not Stankness. Uh, we're getting pretty close to the top of the deck, just like that deep freeze was. Stankness, where are you? That's Ash. I was seeing Ash in my mind. I could have passed up Stankness. No, I was looking for Ash. Here's Stankness. I didn't pass it. Okay. Stankness is in between Leech and Elks. This is interesting. I feel like I say everything is interesting. Well, most things are. Um, it feels like this energy. The first thing that comes to my mind is like it feels like an emotional bleed because of the connectedness of it, or because of the pathways that it uses, maybe. And it's like staunched naturally. So it's like it's a closed port, plugged flow that's done for our own protection. And so then maybe in that way, it's tied to our ability to handle grief and trauma and tough emotions. It's like when we can handle the leech without needing this protection, then that's one of the things that signifies us as ready. Like that's one of the tests that we pass. When we can be open to like feeling those feelings and working through them rather than um latching on to any of one of those seven deadly sins, remember? When we don't succumb to vice in order to soothe. And vice can be anything, anything that we use to soothe rather than to face. Some of these things, at the very least. I would two more. One more. And let's see where Stankness is now. Leaf Shade and Leaf at the bottom of the deck. Look at that. Leaf Shade and Leaf. Interesting. Leaf Shade cradled. Leaf unfurl. Is this an order? Like what was cradled is now being unfurled? It's interesting because there was an element of the divine that was hiding behind Leaf Shade for. It might have been Aries. Taurus. It was for Taurus. When I read the runes for Taurus, I'm pretty sure it was Taurus because it was like, don't go hacking through the woods. Like, if you were to stop swinging your machete, you would notice that the forest naturally parts for you. Something about your path or your journey through the woods is different than what you perceive of that for like others around you or for other people. It's like other people might have to hack and slash through the forest to get wherever they're going. But for you, that's not your path. And the path that is for them, it's like there's overgrowth or there's something in the forest that the forest sacrifices in order to maintain its greater balance. And for those who need to hack through the forest, they are put on those paths. So I guess in a way, almost like don't just replicate what you see other people doing. Like bring a little bit more presence. Some of it might work, some of it might not. That's where I saw Leaf Shade. It was like something in the forest was hiding behind that. But it's being like unfurled. And then we have Candle, which is Daystar at the bottom of the deck, or under that. It's unfurling to reveal the light of this candle. And as soon as it like unfurls and you see the light, it explodes. Like it bursts out. At Burstan came out with either Leaf Shade, or Apple Bearer. Not super recently, but recently. And then Apple Bearer is under that. Oh my gosh. And then Apple Bearer is under that at Burston. Leaf Shade, Candle, at Burston, Apple Bearer. And then Kin, the Divine Spark, is right under that Apple Bearer. And we have Wind, Bliss, Comfort under that Kin. The bottom of this is like gorgeous. And it's all unfurling. And it's like it's at this point, it can't even contain itself. It's so ripe with the energy of life that even in the most desolate of spaces, it can turn it into a dense tropical rainforest. And then Jifu, Gift, Generosity is under that Win. Bliss, Comfort, Generosity, gorgeous. Gorgeous. Perry. Hey, Perry, how you doing? Carrot Cake is a blessing. I thought that said coconut for a second. And I was like, what? The cake series? Oh, no, I got to remember. Did you get Red Velvet for Pisces or Taurus? Did you get a cake that I like? I don't even know if I fully remember, but I'm like, was red velvet a part of the equation somewhere? Stankness, where are you now? Let's see if anything's changed. Let's see, let's see, let's see. Is Think this going to be at the top of the deck again? I don't think I passed it, but we're getting down to the down to the last few cards. Okay. Oh my gosh. The only two cards we have left, we have Lafruma and Hang True. Hang True and Lafruma, and then we have the three cards who are right here. I'll slide you out. On the other side, we have Yor and Man. The destiny of man, Hang True and Lafruma. It's almost like it's hanging in the balance because of the choices and decisions that we make right now. Well, now Lafruma's on the table, so this is interesting. So you know how it was like this furled up leaf that's cradling whatever, it's unfurling, and as the leaf unfurls, it's revealing this candle, which then goes into like apple bear at burst in, like the light is bursting out, and then we have like Kin the divine spark and all of that. On one side of Stankness is Ripien, is the maturing, also in the leaf apple bearer family, so I guess not too surprising. On the other side is flying. On the other side is flying. No. On the other side is Offerlagu, which is literally the past test. In the Stankness, in the treadle cycle, it kind of concludes in, I guess, Elks is the start of the treadle cycle. Numerically, especially. This was the beginning of the treadle cycle. It's almost like a pathway that we're not even allowed to take. It doesn't even open up to us because the divine wouldn't put anything more on us than we can bear. And this, in whatever state previously, would have been a lot more because of the things that we weren't handling, facing, or addressing. But as we started to handle, face, and address, heal, go through those towers, emerge stronger, this pathway eventually sort of like opened up little by little, bit by bit. Very thorny, probably. Very difficult, probably. So if you were going in with a machete, I wouldn't blame you. The concluding cards in that Elk's treadle cycle is Stankness and Offerlagu. Stankness, the test, Offerlagu, the passing of that test. And because we passed that test, this element of spirit now comes in and it works with us. Literally right there. We matured into it with that Ripien. This maturity is the innocent that we conclude Pisces season with. All of that excess baggage that we shed, all of those extra ways or whatever that we no longer take with us, that's this. That maturity also reflected in the keeper. Interesting. And then literally Offerlagu, the cooperation of it. Offerlagu is the energy mantle. What's more energy mantle than this? The archer with Athena. Like, so thank you, Lafruma, for validating and for participating. This is interesting. This is very interesting. Very, very, very interesting. Aries was red velvet. Oh, how do you remember? Did I watch Aries? Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. My Venus is in Aries. I watch it sometimes, not too often, but sometimes I'm like, oh, what's Aries up to? Interesting. I got a free cake pop today. Did I tell y'all? I went to Starbucks. That was my surprise today. My surprise for today was that cake pop. They were like, oh, it's cracked, so we can't sell it. Do you want it? And I was like, yes, I'll take a cake pop. And it was the pink one, which I love. If it was chocolate, I would have been like, still glad that I got it. But I got the one that I wanted, and I didn't have to pay for it because it was like cracked and they couldn't sell it. Yeah. I was like, what? Aries season is coming through with the surprises. I feel like I've gotten a little present every day. I don't know if it's because Saturn it's left me or what. I don't know. Anyway, loving it so far. Not that the beginning of Aries season isn't also coming with its own share of perceived challenges. I say challenges because I don't know. It's definitely no longer a time to sit idly by on sidelines. And now I regret everything. I regret everything and nothing. My regrets are only because now I've already proven to myself that I can do things that I didn't think I was capable of, and so it's like I've literally run out of excuses. So now if I don't do something, it's just because of me. And I'm like, oof, well. And having this channel and delivering the messages that I receive to deliver also helps hold me accountable in my own life because it's like, oof, well, I've also noticed that, like, sometimes, more often than not, if I read through the signs, I'll find myself in Capricorn. Like, I'll read Capricorn and then feel some kind of resonance. Sometimes more than like Pisces or Taurus or anything else that I read. It's just like, I guess I'm Capricorn. Anyway, I don't know. Anyway, I don't know. So that's this. An hour and a half. This was not supposed to be this long. It's fine. This Aries season Aries is also the Fool. We saw all three of them. We have the Innocent. I'll read the tale of the Innocent. I'm going to put these away in reverse order as well. And then there are things that I need to get doing, so I'm going to start those. HI. The Intimate. Who is that? The Innocent's Tale. On a golden spring dawn, on the first day of his heroic quest, as this is the first full official day of spring since the sun's transited into Aries. Kicked out for at least a month? No, why? You resonate with Gemini sometimes? On a golden spring dawn, on the first day of his heroic quest, he gazes in wonder at the sunrise, and the road ahead that gently winds its way to the green hills and distant mountains. Around him, the morning air is filled with bird song, bee hum, and the thrum of dragonflies. Arriving at a precipice, he reaches into his bag and pulls out a diagram of an umbrella. Holding it above his head, he leaps over the edge. And because the universe does not wish to waste his potential, an updraft catches and floats him unharmed to the pathway below. He pulled out a diagram of an umbrella. It's not even a real umbrella. He pulled out a picture of an umbrella, held it above his head, and because the universe didn't want to see him fall, it carried him. Interesting. Okay. That's the tale of the Innocent. Maybe that, in a way, it speaks of that, like, childlike belief, like that level of faith, like when you're young and you don't know that you can't fly, so you just like go and jump off the roof. Well, the divine don't want you to break a leg, so they carry you. So because of that, I guess you go through life flying, because the divine will never see you do whatever, hurt yourself. So they continue to carry you. See, that's like if instead of it being the wolf, it was like some kind of bird. You take on the wings of that animal. Hopefully do. There you go. Oh, I did talk about eagles and Zeus earlier, which would be Jupiter. Jupiter is in Aries right now. So before it transits into Taurus, whenever it transits into Taurus, I don't know. Sunstetta? No, Sigil. Sigil is the final card from the Lafruma. Sigil is the sun. Sigil is also like sun life force. It plays on that light of kin candle that's like bursting out from under the leaf. This is interesting. Because of gravity, groundedness. It's like if you ground to the tree and the tree takes you to like life force energy. Which is like the tree is it's a manifestation of life force energy being so old and as connected to the earth as it is, but the tree takes you like back even further. Waterfall, mystical healing is at the bottom of the deck. These two are interesting together, quite interesting together. Because then it feels like the tree leads you to life force, but then life force leads you to it's an element of the divine that heals. But it feels like life force is the force of life. This waterfall behind it, it's almost like if life force is the vessel, waterfall is the water that fills that vessel. I don't know how else to communicate this. So it's almost like if you were cut and some fairy pixie, someone whose modality, who specials in like who specializes in a modality based on life force, like the force of life itself heals the wound type of energy. But it's because it's so full of life that it heals. It's almost like it's so full of life that it takes something to its most prime state, to like its peak condition almost. I don't know. Really. I don't know. I'm getting hungry. Calories. I could go for some calories right now. Thank you, Lafruma, for being my ever gracious assistant, compatriot, partner. I don't know. That's interesting. A force of life that is so great that it does that. I feel like that also it introduces an element of this that I might have mentioned briefly. I might not have actually. I think the innocent did the entry for the innocent for innocence or the innocent talked about its contagiousness. It's almost like it's the contagiousness of the innocent. It's funny because I watched a movie on Netflix. It was like some kiddie movie, but I was eating it. I wanted something to watch on Netflix because I didn't feel like reading subtitles while I ate. Even though some of the Netflix shows have subtitles too. Um, and I mostly only watch Netflix when I'm eating. So if I don't feel like eating and watching or eating and reading subtitles at the same time, I don't make much progress on those shows But anyway, I watched this one show. It was some kid who had to follow a magical elephant to get his sister, and he had to accomplish three impossible tasks to do it. Like, there's this eccentric king, and he's like, everyone's like, you're asking us to let you have that elephant. Like, this is impossible. And the king's like, oh, I like that. Like, so if you can do three impossible things, we'll fulfill an impossible request. And the whole time he thought that the elephant would lead him to his sister in one way, but the elephant led him to his sister in another way. And at the end of the movie, spoiler alert, I guess, at the end of the movie, he had to return the elephant home. So he had to realize that the elephant had been separated from its family the same way that he was separated from his family. And to get his request fulfilled, he had to be selfless enough to fulfill the elephant's request. At first, he was like, once you help me find my sister, then I'll let you back home. But then he was like, I got to let you go back home. And then his sister was right there. She had a dream about the elephant, and she didn't know what it meant. But she was like, elephant, like, I saw you in a dream. So what are we doing here? Because elephants were impossible. They were like, elephants don't exist. What are you talking about? And it was a place that was full of magic until war came in and stripped everyone of their belief. And it was a whole thing. Again, it was kind of kiddie, but I liked it, I guess. I liked it enough. So let's do the SKT next. I do have one more card to put in here. I feel like I don't use many of my decks enough, but I feel like this is one I don't use enough. I spent so much time with the Vitruvian edition. I love it so much, and it's not that I don't love this one. I do. I just haven't spent as much time with it. So, but then there are so many decks that you know. Oh no! Well, this elephant made it home in the movie. And the elephant would have like dreams of its family, like being in this water. And then the boy actually appeared in the dream. The boy and the elephant shared a dream, and that's how he knew that the elephant was homesick. And the narrator was like, the elephant doesn't understand English, or the elephant doesn't understand what this person is saying, but the elephant can look into the boy's eyes and know the feelings that are being communicated, or something like that. All right, SKT. That was quick. SKT said, let's do it. We ain't got time to mess around. We get an extra card because the bottom of the deck is that Page of Cups again. The two cards that flipped over inside the deck: the Politics, Sun and Aries, Three of Wands, and the Shining Quarry, Caverns of the Gnome, Knight of Pentacles. So now we've seen both knights that correspond to that 3-in-1 card. It was the Page of Pentacles, Page of Wands, Knight of Wands. Here is the Knight of Pentacles with the Three of Wands. The Three of Wands, the politic in this deck, is three masculine energies, all holding a piece of the Emperor. The Kindred Three of Cups is three feminine, all in the space of the Empress. And this one, they come together, staffs representing the past, present, and future, and they gaze into the fire to get a prophecy. But them coming together sets this Knight of Pentacles in motion, which is interesting because so far it's been an energy of like, because of the healing and the transfiguration that we do within ourselves, it puts us more and more and more in line with this divine energy, or more and more in line with how our vessel holds and manages / operates / manifests the energy of the divine here now for the first time in all of this, more than outside of implications like others are perceived. And when we come together working towards a common goal, that's what gives this night, or that's what gives Pentacles energy momentum. That's what moves it beyond the page. Again, we have this lovely beauty at the bottom of the deck, so we're going to take that the joined one, to be her message. So just like this card led us to manifestations and aspects of the divine energy and settled it into our soul, it will also lead us to each other. And we will find those on our journeys, or we'll find ourselves in situations that move us in the way that we are to be moved to the destinations that are for us to sort of get to. Love it. But it's, to be cooperative at that point. These are three emperors that are working together, which for some people might be difficult. It might be difficult for three people to be so sure of themselves and not try to outperform or outshine or outdo or out control one another. Like, as beautiful as this energy is, just like when I said, like, pick one of the seven deadly sins, it can be so easy to fall into ego and completely derail it. Because as soon as one person tries to step on the toes of another, or like one person tries to assert themselves over the other two, this whole dynamic falls apart. Because you're not dealing with a page or a knight or even a queen or a king, depending on how people treat other people. You're dealing with those who are on the same level as you. You cannot assert yourself above these two. And if you try, you'll just be cut out. And it's like, what is that? It's almost like inherit the wind type of energy. The meek will inherit the earth and the somebody will inherit the wind. It's like, have fun ruling over nobody, because no one would subjugate themselves under you. Yes, you're the emperor. Yes, you have whatever, but your people will cross your borders and they will leave your kingdom anyway. There's a certain balance and a respect that they have for each other. They come together, they're working together, type of energy. And then we have the sun. I'm assuming it's the sun because this is sun in Aries right there. We are going to have a solar eclipse at the end of Aries season. Hello, Clouds of Harmony. How are you doing? Elephants on parade. I don't know if I've ever seen Dumbo, to be honest, in full. Who was this? Somebody, there's a child. I don't know if I've ever noticed this child here holding an egg. Who are you? Hold up. And what's that? Is that the solar plexus? What is that? I'm gonna have to pull that up. I want to know what that is. What's that Sanskrit for? I'm confused. I'm curious. I meant to say I'm curious, but I said I am confused, but also curious. Let's see where my books. See books. Where's my book of maps for the? Here we go. Right here, the Revelation Book of Maps. Let's go to the Knight of Pentacles, who is the Shining Quarry, Caverns of the Gnome. Oh, is that it? It might be a gnome. In traditional Chinese lore, we don't have fairies or sylphs. Woodland nature spirits, maybe, but no fairy or sylph equivalent. Well, maybe the Apsara from Buddhist folklore are comparable, yet it was important to me to include the four mythical creatures per Paracelsus for the four elements in their most activated form, the knights. So I went ahead and took the liberty of placing them into the cultural settings of each respective knight card. I recited the Diamond Sutra. Okay, that's stuff that she did. Okay. This card is of personal significance to the creator, the author of the deck, author and illustrator. And as she was working on because she was working on the illustration during a particular conflict that was going on in her life, so it became an act of magic. Every detail was selected with precise, methodical, and deeply personal intentions on this card. Each and every detail in the illustration was deliberated upon and rendered in accordance to magical intentions. A complete, comprehensive, and detailed world was drawn for the background before concealing it with white clouds. Where did my card go? I'm looking for it. Where did I put you? It's right here. I guess it is kind of concealed a little bit. It was drawn in detail before being concealed by white clouds. Fog is also a thing. I'm watching another anime and there's a white whale. It's very like Ishmael and Moby Dick, but this white whale spews fog, and anyone swallowed by the fog is erased from existence, including the memory of them. So, anyway, the Knight of Orbs represents a Rajput warrior, land owning aristocratic warriors in India. I just want to see uphold certain codes of chivalry, with the two most important values being loyalty and valor. Upon his golden orb is inscribed the Om symbol, a sacred sound in Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism. It's Om. Yeah, I guess I probably should have known that. Om is inscribed on this golden pentacle, on the golden orb. So this is a gnome. Stands in front of a reimagined Rani Ki Vav, the Queen's Stepwell in Gujarat, India. The Rani Ki Vav is a subterranean temple and water source. Scriptures carved upon the stepwell are predominantly to Vishnu, the preserver. A flood caused the stepwell to be buried under sand and mud and was rediscovered in the 20th century. The knight's helper spirit is a gnome, an earth spirit who is seated on an enchanted flying rock that the gnome uses for transportation. She holds a polished treasure in her arms. It's interesting that, because I talked about how I wanted to pull before and after Akenskjold. Akenskjold is a dwarf, not a gnome, but related, and Akenskjold guards a treasure. Well, here the gnome is like with it. They don't have fairies, but they have gnomes. The closest relative of the fairy. The fairy isn't, so that's when Taurus was hacking through the woods with the machete that they didn't need to hack through. There was like a fairy enchanted wood energy. So we also see a denizen of that area that has come to greet the one of that suit. Maybe this symbolizes like this is us in cooperation with other people and in cooperation with spirit and the divine, all things coming together in all ways. I don't even know, because it's the depths and the abyss. Like I don't even know how much of this will necessarily be consciously aware of. One last thing I can do is I Ching. So this is this, I mean, it has to be fire. Fire under earth. Earth over fire, I think. I'll read the I Ching for that. Fire and earth. So earth over fire is I Ching number 36, darken the light. Which is interesting because the Ace of Pentacles is the deepening, not the darkening, but darkening of the light. Ming Yi, I Ching number 36. The sun has descended down into the belly of the earth. It is a time of transitions. One will come to an end while another is ascending. Use the darkness to your advantage. Wait until the darkness has set in completely before you start the uprising. Use darkness to veil your light. Begin the resistance of light under the veil of darkness. Do not compel the change. Let the time of transition take place in due course. Do not draw attention to your light, but do not let that inner light extinguish. A push for change is in the air, but the time for change has not yet come. So that can just signify how, like, you may have a knowing or a goal or a dream of like large changes, but just understand that it's a process. Again, it does kind of harken back to that, like, As you are changing and evolving, someone else or other people are changing and evolving, and the world is reaching this place where they're asking for something. When it comes time for the need to be fulfilled, you'll be there. Just like the Three of Wands, it all meets in the middle at some point. So you don't necessarily have to push to accelerate things, or you don't have to try to quicken something to get there faster. Allow it to take place in its own time. Temper your own self and your own ego. And when the time comes, you will be perfectly positioned. Your idea will be fine-tuned enough. You will be ready. But there are things for you to do now. Don't lose hope if things don't go as quickly as you planned, or don't lose hope if you get like one rejection or another rejection, because you're finding your way to that space as well. Next is the Enchanted Map Oracle. Ba-da-ba, ba-da-da. I think it's also interesting that it mentioned darkness, because gnomes. Well, if I'm thinking more of dwarves, how dwarves live underground. Speaking of Pluto, how closely they are related to Pluto, mostly because they both live underground and they both have associations to precious metals, ores and minerals, and because of precious metals, ores and minerals, they both have associations to wealth, because of how those on the surface sort of like value them or whatever, right? So interesting. And it was an earth sign. Oh, yeah. Wait, no, you don't belong here. Somehow snow ended up in the Enchanted Map Oracle. I mean, snow did cause me to look for deep freeze, so hold up. I put these cards back in the I put these cards back in the wrong deck. I grabbed the wrong cards. Hold up. Yeah, it's just these. The Enchanted Map Oracle has like a shiny edge, so I could see it. I was like, what's that shininess in there? Anyway. Enchanted Map Oracle, what say you? What says thee? I was talking to my journey buddy yesterday, and I was telling her how, in hindsight, like winter this year felt like it was interesting. And then I was like, it kind of felt like being inside of the seed. It's like all of these things that are taking place. And we came up with more pactivity, because it's like passive but also active. But everything that transpires in the seed before the roots start to push out, and before the leaf starts to unfurl towards the sun, it was like being inside the seed and doing all this stuff. And now it's time to whatever. Okay. Enchanted Map Oracle, what say you? Isis came out with the Bone Collector and the Ghostlands. Quinine, Isis. I don't know everything or much of anything about either. Besides Isis, Osiris, Set, Horus. She put them back together. There's like chaos ruled for a certain point in time where where Osiris was like deceased. So chaos was like ruling while Isis was putting them back together. But then order came back to win out. So it's not necessarily like how we conduct ourselves in times of chaos, because they won't last forever, but the wolf is there watching. So it kind of is, but it also isn't. Oh, there we go. Thank you. 48 and 40. Wishing well and follow the leader. This feels like a train of miracles. Honestly. It's like one wish being fulfilled after another, after another, after another. And it's like depending on what you wish for, again, it can sort of be like that. Be careful what you wish for because you just might get it, but it's not in a genie way or a genie way where it's fulfilled in a way that like it's like the circumstances aren't great, but we get what we want. It's like almost like a better and better and better energy, but it's almost like when you start to do this one thing and like you maybe like you just get into the flow of it or like you get it and then like something else comes in and then something else comes in and then something else comes in. Like it's a really good energy, but it also can maybe come in almost all at once. And so it can be a little, it can be very whelming to the point where it might be easy to be overwhelmed. But I mean, it's what you wanted, it's what you wished for. So ultimately, it's like better to have it than to not. Wishes may bring problems such that you regret them. Better that though than to never get them into the woods. If this is the case, then it's like every time a wish finds you, I don't want to say you need to, your ability to accept and receive the fulfillment of your heart's desire will trigger the next thing. It's like they have to be accepted because if you don't accept it and you redirect it because it's following the leader, then these other wishes will also be redirected. And like that's not to say that it is gonna happen. It's just that like I don't know, like be mindful of it that you don't get into a habit of rejecting things, especially if rejecting things was your way of going about living in the past. Also, we see a tree here. I was just talking about trees. I forgot what I said about them, but there's a clock on the tree. That divine time is now. And it's 40. 40 is death, but it's also the emperor and the fool. The wishing well is death and strength or death and justice. But it's also the emperor and strength or the emperor and justice. I think it's both strength and justice. Like justice is coming in. Are we strong enough to receive it? Type of energy. And it's paired with the emperor. But again, like it is an emperor who is an emperor, but it's not necessarily an emperor who rules. Like this emperor isn't necessarily a dictator. They don't necessarily exercise absolute control. Interesting. Woo! Bottom of the deck is deep freeze. Bottom of the deck is the card I went looking for. Wait. See, remember when I accidentally put snow in here and I was like, I put snow in here because of deep freeze? Bottom of the deck is deep freeze. Emphasis on strength because it's the lion that was frozen in the deep freeze. So it's the lion that's going to be thawing. It plays on that aspect of the emperor. It's the initiator. It's the one who puts their name out there when they do something. So I feel like there is also a heavy emphasis on accountability, but it's accountability in many manifestations of accountability, right? So like let's say for instance you're someone who doesn't like the limelight or you're someone who doesn't really like recognition and you are in that work environment where there's something that you contribute that is of note. This test, because it's like it's not a test, but it is a test. The whole thing, it isn't a test because you already passed the test, but it is a test. It's a test because it requires you to be and do all of the things that you already learned, right? It's like if you got your degree, you have the education, and then you get a job. Now you're putting that education to use. So you're not taking tests the same way that you took tests in the classroom, but it's like tests through applications of the learned material. Anyway, It's like if someone gives you credit, like, oh, like they did it, they contributed this, and you're like, oh no, like it's not that big a deal. Like it wasn't me. It was like accountability is like accepting that at the same time. I think a lot of times, again, it's one of those words where a lot of times we hear responsibility or accountability. It's like taking ownership over like the not great things that we've done, but accountability is also taking ownership of the amazing things that we've done and the things that we do to progress things. Because you taking accountability is going to help in those subsequent blessings come in. Win, bliss, comfort was behind the divine spark bursting out. Remember? That's also part of it. So it is more death and strength than death and justice. And that 48, this follow the leader. Follow the leader is also interesting because if this is Emperor energy, Emperor and the Fool, there may be those who look to you in a certain way. Like you may become an authority on a certain topic if you aren't already. But because you would be the authority on that topic, your voice holds a lot of weight. If you say something, they will do it. So, depending on who you are and, whatever, if it's new for you, it might be a little bit more jarring because it's like, oh, that's a lot of responsibility. Like, how am I supposed to be self assured enough that, whatever? But, like, again, the tower that came out with the Page of Cups at the jump up, like, or at the conclusion of Pisces season, you've gone through everything you've needed to go through. You've done everything you needed to do. You completed your education, you received your degree. Now it's time to get to work. Are you going to be perfect? No. Are you going to make mistakes? Probably. But if you continue to like show up and be accountable, you can work through anything. Also, again, with the initiate, the convalescent, and the warrior, like this action, this doing, it's probably going to be new for you. You're not expected to be perfect. If someone's hiring you to like understanding that like your body of experience may not necessarily be complete right now, like they know that you might like make mistakes or whatever, but like that doesn't make you any less qualified. I think that's also why it's important for the humbleness of that 3 of Wands, the politic, to not be like, well, this is what I said, so we're just going to do it because you hired me to do that. It's to not get it's almost like if you make a mistake, you don't necessarily want to double down on that. You want to like be humble and accountable and accept that you made a mistake, because that's going to show the people that you work with that you're capable of growing or you're capable of evolving. If you're not, then it's like you become a liability, or you can become a liability if you are if you show yourself to be incapable. Because again, it's like, then it's like if they ever have a challenging project or whatever in the future, would they feel comfortable coming to you if you just double down rather than like owning up to it and then improving, learning and growing? There are many complex layers, and I'm not necessarily right. Use your own intuition, discernment, and guidance. But sometimes, although we do try to save face, it doesn't really serve us to. That's why, again, it's like this energy is really, really good and it's really quick, but it feels like the slightest bit of ego when in excess can like completely derail it. But also at the same time, what is for you, and your path is your path. So, Elemental Oracle, what is your final message? Please. What is wrong with me? East, beginnings, number 3. Bottom of the deck is discipline, time, number 41. Again, we see like the tree with the clock and the follow the leader, east, beginnings, and time. Is this like a new era? The beginnings of time? But it's like a new time is beginning. Like the dawn of the age of Aquarius. It's almost like Aquarius has dawned in spirit and in thought, but now is the beginning of the dawn in like the physical in the 3D when things really get to shift. Again, with Pluto transiting Aquarius from Capricorn, it's like before it was more about setting the foundations. It was about providing like one-on-one personal education, consulting, mentorship to individuals who will inherit certain companies or who will create other companies or who are going to create this program or that program or like begin to have those impacts. It's like getting people situated, placed, comfortable so that as things and situations move forward, they will rise to the occasion when those needs sort of reach a critical point or whatever. Not to say that they already haven't, but the beginning of time. So time would follow the sun in that way. Rises in the east, sets in the west. And the I Ching talked about um, light veiled in darkness. So it's not a solstice, but maybe like the sun is rising. So the light that was veiled in darkness is going to start shining, which again, it plays on that like potential fear of like recognition and like that kind of accountability. That emperor, like the don't back down, like say what you say what you mean, say what you feel, and say it with your full chest. You know what I mean? 10 toes down, like take a stand, be about something. But it's like the time of that unveiling light is like coming, if not now, if not here. Interesting. Interesting. So interesting. I want to hear your secrets. What was that? What? It's details. I want to know details. It's Bob's Burgers. I can't think of it. I did pull a little Gilded Tarot clarifier, but I didn't use it, so I'm not going to use it. I don't know. It's a really, really interesting time. Details. I want to know details. All right. Archeo. Last but not least. Never, ever least. Wow, imagine somebody being salty about Pisces just being like, last and definitely least, Pisces. Oh, snap. I haven't seen this card yet. Ah! Ree made a post recently about ladybugs and synchronicities, and she was like, what animals or whatever have you been seeing? And I'm like, I've been seeing like falcons. Like, I saw a robin today, like birds just like chilling. It was just sitting there. I've been seeing falcons, like, especially on the side of the road, they'll just be like perched there. And I'm like, okay, I see you. Falcon is at the bottom of the deck, which is why I was like, oh, that's interesting. Metamorph is the card that came out. This metamorph is interesting. It very much so echoes sentiment of that Ophiuligu, with the Ophiuligu being the energy mantle. That's the Eight of Fire in the Tarot of Dreams. I forgot about that. There was the the Eight of Fire, the Eight of Wands, the Sharpshooter, literally the same. But in the Tarot of Dreams, instead of it being the person and the deity, the Archer and Athena, It's the person, and then he's like wearing the falcon cloak or the eagle mask or whatever. So it has the eyesight of a bird of prey. And it's able to like take on those aspects to enhance its natural ability or to help it better perform that function. Metamorph. And it's not metamorphosis. It's metamorph, like a person, like a shapeshifter. It's not like this process of changing and metamorphosis. It's like metamorph. Like you are the so morph into that meta form and get stuff done. Girl, like I said, I don't know. Apparently, Aries season is reading as like energetically wild. Aries season is also the beginning of the zodiac, meaning it's like the beginning of an astrological year, or it's the beginning of the years that follow the seasons rather than like the calendar. The beginning of time, the beginning of a new age, a new era. I'm going to read this. This is interesting. So interesting. Hello, excuse me. What is this, girl? This is also interesting. Oh my gosh, it's literally this. That was the tale of the innocent. The one who jumps off of the roof and the divine carries them. And then they like manifest wings. They manifest the wings of the bird being the eagle, being Zeus. Remember when I said that? Yeah. Now the metamorph is here, and the falcon is at the bottom of the deck. I mean, I don't know if they have an eagle in this deck, so this might be the closest that we're going to get to the falcon. I literally just opened up to falcon. The falcon rises up and gazes down at the landscape spread below, riding wind and current just like the innocent. He scours the cartography, scanning for impending threat, be it storm cloud or swollen river. His eyes are tuned. He can pick out a half-hidden scorpion at 1,000 meters, and if you trust him, he will make sure you're never caught by the unexpected. Okay. As like I feel like as comforting as that's supposed to be, it's like also very foreboding. If you trust him, you'll never be caught off guard by the unexpected. Oof. It's gorgeous energy, but I'm just like, oof, I don't know. Hello again. Oof. It just like it wraps it works its way back. I mean, I guess it's a good thing, even though it's like confirmation, but still, it's good to be confirmed. Like for as long as these are, I'm glad that it's not one of those where like you watch the first 5 minutes and that's basically the whole thing. I mean, even though like by the end of it, it kind of is, but still, it's the journey. Metamorph. I had a dream a while ago. I had a dream a while ago that I forget what the first part of the dream was. I was doing something and then I had to like go home. And I was on the back of a griffin, and I was on the back of a griffin with a girl. And the griffin is doing its thing, and the girl is like starting to get a little lightheaded. I'm like, what's going on? I used some kind of magic to check the composition of the air, and I noticed that like the air was getting thinner. And so that's why like she was getting lightheaded and she was about to pass out because she didn't have enough oxygen or something like that. So I tried to do a magic to like manipulate the air to put more oxygen in it so that she would be fine. But then like she kind of like blacked out. And I think when I landed, like she landed too. I can't remember if like she fell off the back of the griffin and then we had to like swoop and save her. Anyway, this was a long time ago. Now, every now and then when I see a griffin, it reminds me of that dream. I guess that's interesting that we were so high in the air because air was the card that came out in the elements with all the horses and all that movement. Anyway, I don't know. Anyway, Metamorph. The metamorph will aid you in all your life's transitions from child to adult, from midlife to maturity, Rippian, and eventually onto your ultimate rite of passage. There's the RITE right, not the RAGHT right. I think the emperor kind of came with a little bit. Yeah, the emperor being bestowed with the Ankh by the empress was an RITE right, not an RAGHT right. Even though it kind of is, it's like it through virtue of being a creation of the divine that holds the capacity for the the divine energy to be a vessel of the divine. It is a right, RAGHT, but because we are so fraught with iniquity, not to get biblical, but like because we can be so easily swayed by our ego and desires and anything else, it becomes an RITE, right? Because we have to show ourselves as responsible, right? Like you're not going to give a loaded flamethrower to a 2-year-old who can't necessarily understand that it's not a toy like the water gun. You know what I mean? It would be irresponsible of the parent to give a flamethrower to a 2-year-old and then be like, I didn't know they were going to burn down the house in half of the neighborhood. And it's like, yeah, you didn't know or you wouldn't know, but at the same time, why would you do that? Anyway. Girl needed to no, not girl needed to raise her vibration. I think we were just going a little too fast, a little too high. I was like, what's wrong with her? And then I'm like, oh, the air is a little thin. Let me try to adjust it. And then she like blacked out. I was like, oh my gosh. And we were on the way to do something. I'm like, I can only handle one crisis at a time. You were supposed to help me. Now I gotta help you. Anyway, it's fine. Everything ended up working out. Honestly, though, that dream was weird. So when we land, I got home to my grandma's. And I guess this is an intermission where I tell you about this weird dream that I had. My family had like turned against me. And I'm like, what are y'all doing? Like, this is not the reception that I was expecting. Like, I'm home. And then they were like, you did this or you did that. I was like, what are you talking about? And then in my mind, there was also a girl who was like, she was speaking French, but in the dream, I thought she was speaking Spanish. I was like, sorry, I don't speak Spanish. And she got super upset with me. And I was like, oh, sorry, I don't speak French. And she was like, okay. Like, she was like, at least you recognize the language. I don't know why she got us so offended, but she did. Soon, with how my eyes used to be, they were telling me about what happened. And I got to see it in the dream as they were telling me. And I'm like, this happened at night. Like, y'all know, like, my night vision is not good enough to do this. So whoever did that was like impersonating me, number one, or trying to make you think that it was me, number two. I'm physically incapable of doing that because I can't see at night. Never found out what was going on, but that was evidence enough for them to know that it wasn't me. Again, it was a weird dream. I don't know. Anyway, I was like, I would never. Like, it's me. Hello. That don't even sound like something I would do. And if they didn't see it themselves, they wouldn't have believed it either. But they were like, we saw it. We saw you do it. I'm like, well, consider the circumstances. How? How? I can't see anything at night. I'm blind as a bat in daytime without echolocation. Anyway, it was a weird dream, like I said, anyway. The metamorph will aid you in all your life's transitions from child to adult, from midlife to maturity, and eventually on to your ultimate rite of passage. Inevitably, there will be times when you need to let go of one set of patterns and take on others. Be it home, work, friends, or lovers, change is inevitable. The metamorph will assist your leap into the unknown. Persona. He is master of all rites of passage, the oil between the cogs, soothing the wheels turning, and the cement between the bricks, holding the structure firm. Let him direct you when you are unsure. Allow him to take your hand and show you which stepping stone you might next trust to support your weight. There's the wheels turning again. The wolf. The wolf. What? It mentions the wolf. You see that? The wolf. The wolf. What? The wolf? Not the wolf. The wolf may be well skilled at leading you through the complicated and confusing trails ahead of you, but the metamorph is the one you will need to overcome the fears and anxieties that freeze your will. Deep freeze. The lion that was frozen in deep freeze. Oh my gosh, look at this. Full circle. Love it. He is the griffin with feline limbs and eagle's wings. There's the eagle from Zeus. So is this closer to the eagle than the falcon is? Question mark. He is okay. Let me start again. Sorry, I got excited. The wolf may be well skilled at leading you through the complicated and confusing trails ahead of you, but the metamorph is the one you will need to overcome the fears. But the metamorph is the one you will need to overcome the fears and anxieties that freeze your will. He is the griffin with feline limbs and eagle's wings who will propel you across the gaping chasm to your next landing. And at the end of your road, he is the kindly concierge who will open the gates of the caravanserai, caravanserai, that garden sanctuary where you can leave behind the burden of your possessions and step into the infinite spaces between stars. The infinite spaces between stars, low key, kind of sort of giving that storm fields and field of dreams energy. The spaces in between the timelines or whatever. The garden, the garden and the gate came out because that was the Knight of Pentacles that had the key around his neck in the Terror of the Abyss, and then the Queen of Pentacles that used the key to unlock the trapdoor in the earth and pull out the pentacle. And then that you can leave your burden, or you can leave the burden of your possessions behind. That playing on, I think it was the innocent. That was the innocent. That's the energy that the innocent had, where we've stripped ourselves of all of these things. Pisces season had helped us strip ourselves of all of these things that are unnecessary. The things that deep freeze our will and the things that make certain pathways a little bit more complicated than they are, or it introduces a little bit of simplicity because there are less stipulations or whatever. I love that energy. Okay, all right, I'm done. I've been really enjoying this. Like, what is the season bringing? Where are we concluding the last season, or what lessons from the last season, and what are we stepping into? Here we go. So yeah, was Patrick? Okay, okay. Wow. Now I want cards on this metamorph. I wasn't gonna use them, but since I pulled them, I'll do it. I'll do it. I have it set literally right here. It's the Gilded Tarot Royale Mini. Not that I necessarily need it because it's going to be different for everybody, but if you wouldn't mind illustrating maybe an example or whatever, the griffin, the interesting thing, like the griffin itself is a chimeric sort of animal or a chimeric creature that takes on the features of different animals. Feline limbs, the wings of an eagle, the beak of I guess the head of an eagle too. It's like the spiritual, the divine component itself is composed of many things. So it could be like, just as we have to work with the divine and other people in a harmonious way, like there are different aspects of the divine that are also working together on the other side. So we've seen who Isis, Kuan Yin, through association, kind of Zeus. I don't know where they overlap or whatever, but anyway. Ooh, wow. This is exciting. No wonder why I felt excited when I woke up yesterday. Also, kind of like, oh, here we go. And it did not disappoint. All right, you're going to be overall. We have the Four of Pentacles. This is feeling like Pandora. Pandora's box. More than Pandora's box, though, it's feeling like, again, something that the divine keeps until we're ready, until we reach that age of maturity. What's interesting, though, it feels like pieces and parts of the self as well. And maybe that's the configuration of the magical square. Like there are pieces of us that are so resonant with these aspects or branches of the divine that you can't have one without the other. So either like we're born with those pieces, or those pieces, I guess now we're getting into soul retrieval. Either there's been an accomplishment within the soul's journey that puts it naturally aligned to those aspects, energies of the divine, or deified individual aspects of the divine as a whole that were taken or that are left inaccessible in this incarnation. And so then you do like your soul retrieval and retrieve them. But when you retrieve that piece, you also get like the attention of whoever or whatever up there at the same time. Or during the course of this incarnation, you basically do the same thing. Where the healing and that stuff, you configure your cube in a way that then brings in that aspect, that element of the divine. Sort of either or, both outside of my wheelhouse. But here it is. So I'll do two cards for the metamorph, a card in the middle for the point where they join, and then the two cards for the human aspect. What's left at the bottom of the deck under that is the Eight of Cups. This Eight of Cups is interesting because it almost feels like there is a certain element. It's like in the maturity, there are certain things that we can't do anymore. Right. It's like if you have, like when you become an emperor, you have more to worry about than the king or queen. When you become a king or queen, you have more to worry about. It's almost like the transition of the Knight of Wands to the Queen of Wands. It's like now that you're responsible, there are certain pleasures that are certain desires that you'll have to sort of like work out of your system because when you become the queen, you can't do that anymore. And it's not that you can't do that, but it's that you recognize that for the sake of your kingdom, you shouldn't. So it's almost like responsibility in a way. Steph, how you doing? Hello. I think too there are also things because of the moon. It's like you have an overall idea, maybe you have an overall idea or a general idea of the direction that you're being called into, but there are certain things that like are unclear. It's not a super cloudy sky, but the moon is partially obstructed by that cloud. But it does feel again like you know everything that you need to know to begin. You don't have to know everything. So, representing the Griffin, we have the Queen of Wands. There's our Queen of Wands. Wow. And we saw the Knight of Wands earlier. The Queen of Wands and the Seven of Pentacles. This, because when the Queen of Wands or when the Knight of Wands into the Queen of Wands came out, there was an evolution of desire into passion, or like a want becoming a desire, like realizing that it runs deeper or like it's more important. There is also, it's like the Queen of Wands inspires. Thank you. I've been living life, doing my best, but I've been good. Overall, I've been good. Overall, I guess I've been like relatively pretty great. Just realizing that it's going to be time to start moving some things. And just as I was getting so comfortable not doing anything. But yeah, I'm good. Thank you for asking. It's like the confidence and the self-assuredness that the Queen of Wands has and holds. She will inspire others to the same. So there's also like the divine is working with you, but also like there's a greater play or a greater plan that's also in motion. It's like when people see you working that intimately with the divine, then it causes them to awaken to their own, to the potential of their own vessel type of energy. But at the same time, it's going to help you build towards the things that you want. It also feels like the things that you've built or the things that you've put into play and into motion, the seeds that you've planted, it's gonna come in and like just like the life force energy with the water gafal had the power to heal. This is a life force energy that like floods your seeds with life force so they like sprout and floods the blooms, the buds with life force so that they bloom. It's an overall increase in life force energy, like all over. The person is sitting in the Four of Cups and the Page of Swords. So this could have been again how dreams or wishes or desires could be these future realities or these future potentialities. It's like knowing someday that you're going to be famous, but you don't know what you're going to be famous for. Maybe you think you're going to be famous for singing, and actually you're going to be a famous seamstress or whatever. It's like we go for what we think is the most probable route. It might be something completely different. But this is like pondering what this is. Like the divine is giving us this vision, or the divine is showing us something. This is us thinking of how we get there. Or this is us making choices and decisions in our life to navigate ourselves the best we can. Yeah, I got a free cake pop. Yeah. I went to Starbucks and I got Starbucks. And they were like, hey, this cake pop is cracked, so we can't sell it. Do you want it? And I was like, of course, yeah. And it was strawberry. Strawberry's my favorite. They have some cake pops that I don't like that much. Um, I mean, it's not so you don't have to think about fame or fortune. Fame and fortune was like low hanging fruit for like, I have this knowing that there's this thing that I'm supposed to do or this place that I'm supposed to be someday. And like when it comes to fame or fortune, it's easy because we can look at famous people and we can look at wealthy people. And so we can like try to emulate them, or we may think that that's our avenue towards that success, but it isn't necessarily. But our thinking, rational, reasoning, logical mind can't think of any other thing. So this is just like how we navigate our way towards whatever vision the divine gave for us. For some people, like they know that they're supposed to help like the homeless or whatever. Or they may know that like there's some invention or there's some idea that's within them, some new science or a new branch of whatever, a new understanding, a new way to cultivate land or whatever. Like the thing that is for them to contribute, like the divine has planted or implanted them with that knowing for a long time before they necessarily know how it's going to come to be. But this is us sort of doing our best in surveying the situation to see how we might get there. Again, the divine or the divine half of this is coming with this like, as it's done for you, it will also do for others type of energy. It makes me think of that Three of Wands where it's like the person and other people and spirit all coming together to make this happen. It's the meeting of many forces, all of which were emperors. So again, I feel like that really emphasizes like it's not necessarily for you or me to take control or to place ourselves in that position. But the thing that I'm in charge of, we all have a piece of the puzzle. We all have one of the cups in that 10 of cups solution. I'm in charge of my cup. You're in charge of your cup. That other person is in charge of their cup. I'm going to do what I know to do, and I'm going to trust in the divine. I'm going to trust in the divine and in you enough that what you're bringing to the table that I don't have, I honor that. And I have to be comfortable enough in myself, and I have to have a relationship with my ego that's strong enough that I'm not going to like reflexively try to be more than I am or take up more space than is for me to take up in this space. I'm going to allow everyone to contribute, and I will contribute when it's my turn. I don't have to be the leader or the ruler or the one who knows more to feel secure in myself. Because again, as gorgeous as all of this energy is, it's really easy for us to slip into some kind of ego, to overcompensate, to project or overproject, and to like make things like weird or awkward, and for everything to like subsequently fall apart. Or it can be really easy for us to be blinded by like status, and so we end up chasing status rather than fulfilling that thing that's within us to fulfill. So it's kind of like that. Where they meet is the hermit. So, you know, deep inside, deep down inside. Oh, that's where they meet. They meet on this like deep level, and the hermit, in all of his journeying inwardly, he finds the snake, and he's like, "Oh." What's interesting is the hermit in the vice versa tarot, the fool in the spirit keeper's tarot, the initiate, has the snake coiled around the egg, symbolizing the Orphic egg, I think. The egg is the shell is representative of earth, the membrane representative of air, the white is water, and the yolk is fire. The snake coiled around it is the element of life. This, the element of life, this is that life force energy. This is when we go so far inside, like it alludes to the wellspring. The wellspring for me specifically is the Ace of Cups in the Wild Unknown Tarot. We did see the Ace of Cups in the Spirit Keeper's Tarot, which was the Holy Grail, the one with the pearl and the fountain that the dove was descending into, as symbolic of like Aries season. I think this snake is also interesting, again, as I'm talking about us needing to have a certain relationship with our own ego so that it doesn't like lash out and viper sting somebody else for literally doing their jobs. I almost wonder too if they're, because the Eight of Cups is also a card of journeying. I almost wonder too if there weren't things that we did pick up while we were doing what we thought we were supposed to do. So there is a little bit of an energy of the leaf caught in an eddy. I know Russ calls it the spiritual cul-de-sac, that brick wall, but it's platform 9 3/4. I think that's also why we have to venture through the swelginess to find it, with the rod swelginess and whatever was behind swelginess. Because it's like it is this brick wall, it is this dead end, but we realize that like every dead end that we hit in life, everything that we thought was a dead end, there was a cup that we picked up, like the Seeker that we initially came out with at the end of Pisces season. It was the Page of Cups, the Seeker, then the Page of Wands, Page of Pentacles, Knight of Wands. We realized later that we actually have a use for it. So there's a 10 of cups that 9, 10. There's a number of cups that we assemble within ourselves. Those cups we pour into a greater cup. That cup representing, it's like the collection of cups or the collection of fluids that fill the cup is like these different cups that we pour into it. And then there are other people with their own cup. And then they pour into this collective cup, and we pour into a collective cup, and then we fill a collective cup. This is like as we're filling our individual cups, we're also filling our collective cup. There is not, it's almost like there is very little that goes to waste. So a lot of the things that you've experienced went through, there's probably something that you can gain from it to put towards what's coming, to help you be the best you that you can be, or to help you most fulfill whatever role you're going to be fulfilling as you move forward. And it's not necessarily to reject any of that, but it's not to overly attach to it either. I think sometimes overly attaching to certain things, we can be like really like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Like, I wasted so much time doing this and so much time doing that. But if you live life long enough, you may find that while you were wasting your time, you picked up something that's going to be invaluable to you now moving forward, or to someone else who comes into your experience. None of it's wasted. But again, maybe this is the card of not being overly attached to one cup, to the point that we don't continue to live life, venture out, seek another. Here's the other. This one will take us to the eight, or it'll take us to the nine of cups, even though we only view ourselves as having three. So this is like, there are certain things that we can see as valuable, certain lessons that we've learned or experiences that we go through that we can see as valuable in relation to this one cup, but it's like all of them are valuable type of energy. There's no place that you ended up in that you weren't supposed to. There's nothing that you've experienced that you can't pull something useful out of it. Even if the one thing that you pull out of it is, I never want to do that again. Because that's also very valuable, also indispensable. But with the Hermit card symbolizing where these two things meet, it's not for me to say. It's almost like the Griffin is the plug, we are the socket, and then in this Hermit, we have to find where it's like the light that we take is the plug into ourselves, and we have to find the socket within us where it like connects, and then it closes the circuit so that energy can begin to flow, and it energizes the whole thing. Going back to a previous reading that was all about flow and electricity, I put in the title increased circulation because there was so much about like electricity and flow and movement in that, but the circuit needs to be closed in order for that energy to circulate. And then that goes back to the Licha, right? If there's anything that pulls on that circuit, it's like resistance. And so we get less power out of it because it slows down that circulation. But also, you can have like a solenoid, a capacitor. I think it's a capacitor in the loop that stores energy. And the purpose of a capacitor is that if it gets disconnected, then the energy stored in the capacitor powers that loop. So, in purifying the vessel, cleaning out the vessel to receive more of the divine, we're increasing our capacitance. So, in those dark times, we glow a little brighter for a little longer. You know, every season is a lot. It's a lot. Also, because the new moon is happening, because we have double new moons in this Aries season, we're going to be moving into a full moon first. So in Taurus season, first we're going to have the full moon in Scorpio, and then the new moon in Taurus. Full moon in Sagittarius, and then the new moon in Gemini. I personally, the last time we had full moons first, I loved it. I feel like having a full moon first is like, it's like, this is what you need to work on, or like, this is the purpose. Now, here are the materials, rather than like, here's all the materials, go crazy. And then the full moon is like, all right, well, I want this. And you're like, but I was already building in this other direction. Why didn't you tell me what you wanted before you started? Full moon first, you already know what they want, what they really, really want. Because they told you what they want, what they really, really want. And then the new moon comes and you're like, oh, this is what I have to work with. Got it. I don't know. It just felt like, I'm also kind of backwards though. So, it fits me. Of course, I would like the new moon, or of course, I would like the full moon before the new moon. I'm just that kind of gal, just that kind of dude, just that kind of backwards person. Almost like, because it's like when the full moon is there first, like you can almost reverse engineer it, or you know what you're supposed to be engineering, rather than like, here's some lumber and some metal and a construction crew, go crazy. And they're like, yeah, I was actually looking for a gym and you built me a theater. So I was like, well, you should have told me. Anyway. So, yes. You don't know how, I don't really know how to feel about, well, I didn't know how to feel about a few things. It is very like things are aligning in a way. Things are aligning in a way that I kind of sort of thought that they would be. It's like I started this year with a few feelings of things that would happen this year. I didn't know how they would play out or what they meant really. And then circumstances happened, and then things happened in life. And I'm like, oof. But now I'm like, oh, so like now I can see partially, because I'm human. I don't know anything 100% exactly. The Page of Swords. It's like at the beginning of the year, that was my Four of Cups. Like I just had a feeling that certain things would transpire in my life in this year. Then life happens. I lived life. And I'm like, oh, here's life. Hi, life. Can't live too long without you being a thing. Life. Imagine living and running into life. Um, but now it's like I can kind of sort of see how things are going to be fitting together. And because I see how things are fitting together now, especially with the start of Aries season, I know what I need to do and start doing. I know what I need to initiate. I know how I need to ember it in my life to position me more how I want to be positioned later, rather than just subjecting myself to the flow of whatever happens. And with that Eight of Cups, with that little bit of clouds and the moon, it's like, is there some uncertainty? Yeah. Is it uncertain? It's like, it's almost not really. Like, I'm waiting for certain things to present themselves, I guess, so that I know what I already intuitively feel. And it makes me comfortable to say that I intuitively feel it rather than I intuitively know it, because, like, as much as I can believe, sometimes I don't want to fall prey to my own Piscesisms. I've learned that I don't want to fall prey to my own Piscesisms. And so I'm like learning to balance the like intuitive mind and the like what I wish slash want slash desire slash fantasize about, but not fantasize. Well, yeah, because I was gonna say not fantasize in any way, but it's like, yeah, top tier, top Pisces kind of sort of delusion, rose tinted glasses. You're seeing what you want to see. I'm trying to keep a mind or keep an eye to reality at the same time. And ultimately, like, there will be things that don't, I guess sometimes I'll look for um the easiest way to prove something as true is to prove it as false. One evidence of something not being true will prove it as false. And so I've been in this habit a little bit of like trying to find the one thing that proves it as false, and I haven't been able to prove it as false so far. And so eventually it's like, okay, well, how long are you going to wait, or how long are you going to keep looking, and when are you going to actually start treating this as true? Because if I treat it as true, then I navigate in a way that's completely different than if I treat it as false. And I'm used to treating things as true, but when I was also talking about learning simultaneous lessons, it's like that's one of the simultaneous things that I'm like learning, or that I'm being asked to learn as I emperor in my own life. And it's like, well, what was the point of learning this? What was the point of learning that, or thinking this, or feeling whatever, if only ultimately at the end of the day, like, I don't do it? And that's another thing that this Aries season is already presenting as interesting, because it's almost like, although I have received, or although I have been shown or received or downloaded, whatever, channeled. I mean, I have a working relationship with the divine, and I'm a Pisces. Like, the intuitiveness of Pisces is like, sometimes the divine tells me stuff, and then life will show me what it means. I open myself up. I've learned to, at the same time, open myself up to life, because sometimes I might think it's one thing and it's something completely different. But it's like I was being told these conflicting things almost, but now I realize that they don't conflict. Both things are true, even though they were seemingly the opposite. But it's because of how circumstance and situations are like twisting things, that it's like, oh, so I'm doing both this and this. If circumstances were different, then, like, yeah, these would be two opposite things, but everything's aligning in a way that it's almost like these two separate strings, and circumstances like twisting and twisting, and it's like pulling these together because they're both on that same wheel. Or like they're on the same thread, and it's like if you have a piece of cloth, and you like go like that and you twist it, it'll bring them like together as you like twist it. So it's like that. So ultimately, yeah, I'm good. But at the same time, it's like, but then at the same time, like I said, I've just gotten used to like Netflix and anime and video games. At first, it was so hard because I worked so much. I didn't know what to do with all the free time. Now I'm enjoying all my free time, and it's like, okay, I hope you enjoyed your rest because it's time to go. And I'm like, oh, I was just getting comfortable, but it's fine. Ultimately, again, like, it's what I want. It all works towards what I want. And while I do get what I want, there are also going to be things that are required of me. Uncontradictingly, what's required of me is also what I want, because what's required of me, it feeds into the fulfillment that I want to get out of life. And I guess I'm weird in a way that I don't feel like I owe anybody anything. I don't personally feel like it's my duty to leave the world in a better place than what I found it, because the world don't too much care about me. Now there are some people in the world who do, of course, but the world as a whole, if some people could care less about me. I don't owe it to anybody to do anything, especially to be born in a world that I didn't ask to be born into. I never asked anybody, hey, can you have me? Maybe on a subconscious level, maybe whatever, but I don't feel it as a responsibility. For me, it's something that I desire to do. I want to do it. So, but I'm weird in a way where I have to have that distinction, because if I felt like it was an obligation, I would be less motivated to do it. I'm a type of person that doesn't really operate under obligation. I operate better out of choice than obligation. Call it the Taurian stubbornness in me, maybe. I don't know. But there are things that I want to do. So anyway, to answer your question, that's how I've been. And literally, like, last night into today, I'm just now starting to see how it all comes together. Um, and like I said, and starting to see how it's all coming together for me, I'm starting to realize the things that I need to do. Now, being honest, there were things that I've been wanting to do for a while. Some things that I started doing, but then I stopped doing, and then I started to enjoy my free time. And if those things were already done, I'd be positioned a little better. But also, if those things were already done, it would have put me, like, it would have accelerated a timetable that falls out of the natural timing that I'm falling into, like a natural frequency of oscillation versus like a manufactured one, and me trying to rush things. So, would I've been a little better off? Yes, but ultimately things sort of work in their own timing. And lucky for me, I picked the word expedition, or expedition chose me. I think I'm going to stop choosing words of the year, because every single time I pick a word, it bites me in the butt. But like, it's the same thing. Like, I'll feel into the energy of the next year, and then I'll find the word and looking for the feeling. And I'm like, ooh, that feels good. And I have a little bit of a freak out, because I'm like, the energy of this year and where I am slash what I'm comfortable with, not like that's outside of my comfort zone, but I'm like, it feels so good. And then I live life and I'm like, oof, this is, you're challenging me. Wow. And then I regret picking the word, but whether I pick the word or not, like the year would have been that year. So it ultimately provides me more benefit to know than it would to not. And because I can be stubborn AF, like it just prepares me for things so that my mind can be more open so that I can show up a little bit better in the moment rather than that initial wave of like resistance that I tend to give most things. Like if you're going to ask this Taurus moon and rising to move, you better have a good reason because I'm comfortable where I'm at and I don't just do stuff without reason. Like convince me to move or I'm just going to keep grazing in the grass because I'm good. But anyway. There you go. Whoa! You will not touch somebody's species. Oof. Steph is like, she's like, I'm Virgo, but I'm not that Virgo. I don't know of too much any Virgo that is that Virgo. Like I'll help, but that's asking for a lot. At the very least, you're gonna have to pick up your own doo doo because I ain't touching that. Ain't my dog. Mm-mm. Get a little pooper scooper. Anyway. So, thank you all for being here. This was lovely. This again, it reads as gorgeous, but it doesn't. I don't even want to say it's challenge though. I don't want to say it's challenge. I don't want to say it's test. Like it's just like it's really us being our better selves. And it's not to necessarily like better or worse. Um it's like it's not, but it like I don't know. I feel like it goes back to that accountability piece. I think sometimes we can kind of bypass accountability a little, or sometimes we can use, or sometimes we can try to use like spiritual gymnastics to bypass accountability, which is fine. But at the same time, it's like, okay, if you don't want to be accountable for the things that you do or whatever, it's like, why would you make somebody an emperor or an empress who's not accountable for their own actions? And it goes back to the like if you're at work, right, and you're the specialist, if you double down on your mistake rather than like admitting it and having humility, it's like you wouldn't give anyone much of a reason to choose you to do something challenging or difficult. Because rather than taking corrective action, like if you choose to just double down, then like again, like you become a liability. Because then it's like, well, if I put this person in charge of a project and if they recognize something as wrong, would they keep going to save face and cost me millions, if not billions? Or will they correct it so it'll like minimize our losses and maximize the profits? Because at that point, if you're already in deficit, I don't know. Anyway. It ain't for me to whatever. So it just again, it feels like it can very easily. It's something that can very easily run off course because of the dependence on human elements. And we're only human at the end of the day. None of us are perfect. It's not for us to be. It's just to try a little bit, maybe. Unless, take it as it resonates if it resonates. It ain't necessarily for everybody. Might not be for anybody. That's okay. No problem. No problem. 3 hours. Oh my gosh. Kirsty, what time is it? Should you be in the bed? I feel like I should be asleep. It's 4. Ooh, it's so late. All right. Well, anyway, I'll catch y'all later. This is Aries season. It seems like it is a time of beginnings. Whew. All right. I will catch y'all. Did I already say I hope you have a great one, everyone, whenever you see this? I hope you're acting and allowing to make all that you wish to experience your reality. And I hope that you are acting based upon your own intuition, discernment, guidance, and wisdom, ultimately, more than anything. Because again, I'm a dude that navigates my own path and I try to leave myself open. Try, emphasis on try. It's only 21. 2112. Oh, snap. Well, look at that. You're welcome for the synchronicity. I'm just playing. I honestly, what? Because I saw the number 3 and 21, and then number 12 was in the. I can't remember if it was in the elemental oracle or if it was in the enchanted map oracle. I almost called it out because 12 is the mirror of 21, but I didn't. Anyway. I try to leave myself open to discern other paths. Again, on emphasis on trying. Sometimes I do. Like if it depends on the space that I'm in. And I know that not every path is my path. So sometimes I am like I do read stuff that's not necessarily for me. I even read stuff that I don't even personally agree with sometimes. And I do try. I hope I do it a little bit more successfully than just trying, but I do consciously try most of the time. If not all the time. If I don't, then like you'll hear me say it. Like this isn't something that I personally agree with. So I don't necessarily whatever. But ultimately, if I get it, I still end up saying it. So anyway, I don't know. Maybe I kind of I don't know. Cause like I've said, I've built a curriculum based on the energies of the different majors. I was/am in the process of building spreads around the different majors, and it's a curriculum. The curriculum is intended to help walk us through a certain hermit journey that ultimately connects us. There's a blue jay outside that ultimately connects us deeper to our own like spirit and the divine within. So it gears you towards like working closer with them. And I'm just like a facilitator of like this is like what it's reading like from the outside. That's where I originally saw like I really thought that there was a certain core elemental makeup. That's not true. I found that out and I was like, oh wow. And then also at the same time, there are like certain things that it's not for me to like read into. And that's where the Queen of Cups and the SKT started coming out with like, beyond this, it's for them, not for you. And I have to respect that. I got to be like, I'm not crossing this boundary because I don't want anybody's ancestors, guides, spirit guardians, or the divine coming after me because I done trespassed into an area that was clearly marked as off limits and gave somebody the wrong information. Now they doing all this and they supposed to be doing all that. While we do all make our own choices as the facilitator, I'm like, so anyway, with all that, take it as it resonates, if it resonates for you. And you'll find it. The hermit is where it meets us. So that's where the socket is for the plug. Anyway, bye.